Right. Good morning. In the last class, we started unit number 5, operating system. So in that particular class, we had an introduction, very small introduction for softwares, and also we got something about operating system. I explained some of the basic things about operating system, but remember, in this unit number 5, we have not only operating system, there may be some other softwares, other facts about other softwares also included. But even though the title of the unit number 5 is operating system, there are majority of the things from operating system, but some of them are related to other softwares also. Hope you remember the terms which I used earlier. Utility softwares there, application softwares there. So it's all about this unit number 5 is all about software, but even though it is software, majority of the periods to be spent for operating systems, right? So let's take a small recap on what we had on the other day. Then only you can understand. Right, look here, we started off with the word software. I hope you all remember that one. Software is a set of instructions given to computer for performing tasks. I already also explained in a different manner a set of instruction which tells the computer to perform 3 things: what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, right? That may be the second definition, may be easy to understand because that is slightly lengthier, right? Then I mentioned that there are 2 types of softwares: system software, application software, right? This is a small diagram which covers all the things related to software. So as you can see, there are 2 softwares: system, application, and we have 3 system softwares. Among them, operating system is very important, so that's why it is on the top. Operating system, utility software, and translators. But I told you that utility and translators will be explained at the latter part of this unit, not now, right? So maybe for 5 or 6 classes, we have to spend the time with operating system, right? Once operating system is finished, then we can move to the other softwares, right? On the other side, we have application softwares. I clearly explain everything about application software. So remember the facts: application softwares are developed for fulfilling specific tasks. I mentioned that one application software cannot perform multiple tasks or wide range of tasks, right? It can perform only a single task. Here we have some application softwares, but remember, there can be thousands of application softwares because every individual has multiple needs. So whenever we have new needs, there are softwares developed, right? Nowadays, if you take a single need, it may be anything, there is always a software for fulfilling that, right? Even you can take an imagination. Imagine that you have a need, and definitely there is a software waiting to fulfill your task. You may search in the Play Store or wherever and find them, right? So this is the big picture which shows the complete facts about software, right? Then we started the title operating system. So when it comes to definition for operating system, I told you to remember 2 things: operating system manages or controls hardware components as well as your application softwares, right? Because you need to control your application softwares. As I mentioned earlier, there may be many application softwares. They may work at the same time. So definitely there is a coordination point. That point must be operating system, right? And also remember, one computer, any computer must have at least one operating system, right? Then we talked about application software. I clearly explained everything, right? So no need to take it again. Then these are some of the most commonly used application softwares. We have word processing software, that is for typing, editing, and everything. So we have MS Word. So MS Word is one of the word processing software. Here is the logo. Photo editing software, sometimes called image editing software. So this is for only editing images, right? Creating, modifying images. Adobe Photoshop is one of the popular one, but there may be many. Presentation software, this is for presenting your idea. Even now also I am presenting my idea to you with the help of a presentation software. Yes, I'm using PowerPoint now, Microsoft PowerPoint, but there may be many. This is the logo. And here we have spreadsheet software. This is for performing calculations. Even in in grade 10, we will take it in unit number 7, I think, right? In unit number 7, we will study about this one. This is a common category spreadsheet, and Excel is one of the product, right? So these are some of the application softwares. Then we talked about this diagram. It shows the connection between hardware, system software. Here, system software refers operating system, right? Even though the word is added here, the word added here is system software, but it is always operating system. So remember, in the inner circle, sorry, not inner circle, in the middle circle, there is operating system, right? Then application software. So this diagram shows the relationship between hardware, operating system, and application software, right? And finally, we talked about this slide, right? We had something about this one. So let me continue from what we left from the last class, right? So here we have to talk about operating systems examples. Even though it is a very simple thing, I take some time to explain, because here you need to understand some of the terms or some of the software related things. So let me take some time to explain. Right, the first one, so I mentioned that softwares are developed for both purposes, using in a computer, using in a personal computer, at the same time using for mobile devices such as smartphones, tablet PCs, tablets. So we have two types of, actually they are not types, but for two different purposes they develop operating systems, right? Now we are talking about the operating systems developed for PCs, computers, right? Desktop computer, laptop computer, right? So this is one of the world famous operating systems, Windows operating system. So like I mentioned earlier, if it is a software, it may have versions, because time to time users' needs are increased. So if you are a software company, you have the responsibility to release various updated versions from time to time. Then only you can survive in the software industry. If you don't release the updations or versions, you cannot be there in the market, because it is always competition, right? So you must release some updated versions, right? So that's why we have versions. I mentioned about 95, Windows 98, Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. There may be many Windows versions, right? Okay. Then we have another operating system called Mac operating system, Macintosh. Macintosh, in short, we used to call that as Mac operating system. This is from Apple Incorporation or Apple Corporation. This is from Microsoft. This is from Apple. So those who use Apple computers, right? Apple laptops, Apple desktop computers, definitely you have to use Mac OS. There you cannot use Windows OS. Apple computers need this special software called Macintosh, right? Mac, right? This is the logo. Here it is. Then we have Ubuntu operating system. So I have to explain some of the background information about Ubuntu. So actually, Ubuntu operating system is one of the versions of Linux. Linux is a popular operating system. It may have versions, or based on the Linux idea, this Ubuntu operating system is developed. right? Look here, this is the symbol you can see on the bottom right corner. So this is the logo of Ubuntu operating system. So I have to explain something about this operating system now, right? So I mentioned that Ubuntu is based on Linux. Maybe Linux is the origin, right? We have two types of softwares, even though we cannot call them as two types of, in fact, they are types. There are two softwares called licensed software and open source software. Licensed software, open source software. Listen to me carefully. Windows operating system is called licensed software. So what does it mean? If you want to use Windows operating system in your computer, definitely you have to purchase. You have to pay to Microsoft because Microsoft has the authority. Microsoft has the copyright, what we call copyright. Copyright means that right, that ownership. So Microsoft company has that particular ownership. Now, to use that Microsoft product in your computer, definitely you have to pay a sum of amount of money to Microsoft. Then only it is possible, right? That is the legal aspect when it comes to license. You cannot copy from your friend, or you cannot copy illegally and use in a computer because it is a licensed software. There is an owner. So if you want to use that software, definitely that owner expects its permission. So when the ownership is given to you, definitely you have to pay the money, right? That is the license money. So you have to pay maybe annually, or maybe right more than an year, right? So that is important. But on the other hand, we have another software called open source software. Open source, SOURCE, source software. Look at the term. That term tells something. Open source software. Here, source means instructions. Just remember one thing which we studied in the last class. I mentioned that software is a set of instructions. So to develop a software as a programmer, you have to write maybe hundreds of instructions or thousands of instructions line by line. But we are unable to see the instruction because once the software development is completed, those instructions are hidden or those instructions are closed. So what we see on the screen is colorful interfaces or colorful windows and everything. We are unable to see the instructions. Remember, those instructions are called source, right? Those hundreds or thousands lines are called this by this term, right? Source. So look at the term again, open source. So what does it mean? That source, which means those instructions are open for all the users who see that. So the open source, if you use open source software, you can see the instructions because it is open. So when you see the instruction, you have the right, you have the right to modify and maybe to adjust according to your purpose or your wish, right? Because sometimes you may think that some features in the Ubuntu operating system are not relevant to you. So you may think that some of the new features to be added. Yes, you can if you have a sound knowledge in writing the instructions. That is open source. And mostly open source programs are free, right? It is free of charge. You can download from their official website. Ubuntu operating system can be downloaded from their official website. You don't need to pay for anyone. But that word open doesn't mean that it is free, right? Open means that source program, which means that those instructions are open for all the people who use it. But remember one thing, when it comes to licensed software, when that licensed software development is over, they close the instructions because they are selling that particular product to the others. Their main intention is to sell that particular product. So they don't, right? They don't show the instruction to the public. So they close all the instruction, and after that, their softwares are sent to market, right? So when it comes to Windows operating system, you cannot see those instructions. So at the same time, you have to purchase. But when it comes to Ubuntu operating system, those instructions are freely available. They are open for all the people. At the same time, they are free of charge, right? So try to understand these softwares, open license. All the softwares which we use can be categorized in these two, right? Some of them may be licensed, some of them may be open source. I mentioned about Mac operating system, Macintosh. Macintosh is one of the licensed software because Apple Corporation mostly or maybe never produces open source softwares. They always produce licensed software. So Mac operating system is one of the licensed software. You don't need to remember whether they are licensed or open, but maybe at least maybe for one or two operating system, remember whether they are licensed or open source, particularly for Windows OS, maybe Mac OS, maybe Ubuntu. For these three, you are expected to remember whether they are licensed or whether they are open source. Okay. Before I continue, I will show you this idea. Right, look here. These are the two things which I talked about: open source software, licensed software. The open source software is software with source code, which means instructions that anyone can inspect. You can check them, modify. Yes, you can change them, and enhance. You can improve the coding, right? So this is open source. Remember this. Mostly this is free. Licensed software. It is completely opposite for open source, as the source code is not to be shared with the public for anyone to look at or modify, right? You cannot see the instructions, so you cannot modify or you cannot even look at the coding, right? Instructions must be purchased, right? You have to purchase. So these are the two things, open source software and licensed software, right? Then Handana Linux. So Handana Linux also is one of the Linux based software, right? Like Ubuntu operating system. But here Handana Linux is developed or is formed in Sri Lanka, right? In Sri Lanka, you know, Linux also one of the open source software. So the instructions are open. So some people get together or got together and modify that particular Linux and name them as Handana Linux, right? So this is also, all the Linux versions are open source, right? So then only it can be modified. So this is also one of the open source software. Isuru Linux. So look at them. Linux is there, so it is also Linux-based software. Yes, open source software. Isuru Linux is one of the creations of Sri Lanka Ministry of Education. So Ministry of Education specially designed this or specially modified this for the usage of schools, right? School children, because school children need some sort of features only in an operating system. So they modified the Linux and released this Isuru Linux. This is the version. You can see that government logo is there. Isuru Linux, Ministry of Education, ICT branch released this one, Isuru Linux. This is Handana symbol, right? And we have other logos too. Okay, so these are some of the world famous operating systems which are used in computers, right? So let me take some of the operating systems used in mobile devices. So I already told you that the term mobile device includes handheld devices such as smartphones, tablet PCs. Tablet is something which is in between smartphone and tablet. Tablet, PHABLET, tablet, which means PH means phone, ABLET means tablet. So phone plus tablet, which means it is bigger than smartphones and always smaller than tablet PCs. So we can call that Galaxy most of the Galaxy Note as tablet, right? So Samsung Galaxy Note mostly categorized as tablet because it is slightly smaller than tablet size and slightly bigger than smartphones. So these devices need different operating systems, right? So most of you know this Android operating system, which is from Google, right? Google. This is also one of the open source operating systems. This is the logo. Logos are not important for exams, but as a student who learns ICT, you better remember them, right? This may be useful. So then iOS. iOS is another mobile operating systems. This is for Apple product, right? Apple mobile devices. Apple released iPhone as smartphone, and Apple released iPad as tablets. For iPhones, iPads, you cannot use Android because they are Apple products. So definitely it is iOS. This is from Apple, and this is the logo. iOS is a licensed software, right? Then Blackberry OS, these are used in Blackberry phones, right? People use Blackberry phones. So in Blackberry phones, there is an operating system called Blackberry OS, right? Then we have Windows mobiles, right? So those Windows mobiles or Microsoft mobiles need Windows OS, right? Even Windows OS released for computers too. At the same time, Windows operating systems are used in mobile devices, right? So these are the two things. We are talking about examples for operating systems. I divided into two purposes. Based on two purposes, I divided. One is for using in a computer. The other one is for using in mobile devices, right? So hope you understood these things. Apart from these facts, you have to understand the two terms, licensed software and open source software, right? Okay. Right. Then this is also another important heading. But for grade 10, we limited the facts, right? But when it comes to operating system types, there may be many. But since you start to learn the fundamental things of operating system, they have limited even the types, right? So better understand, right? So look here, in your book, they put the names as I put in the black color, right? So in your book, they use the operating system types as I put in black color. What I put in the brackets is the real name of this operating system. It would be better to call that particular operating system in this blue color name. But your book has a different name. So better as a student, stick with your name given in the book. At the same time, try to understand the correct name or the real name to be given for that particular operating system, right? So look here. According to your book, we have to take 4 types of operating system, but remember there are more than 4 operating systems used, right? But these 4 may be commonly used, right? That may be the reason why your book adds them in it, right? But there may be more than 4, right? The first one is called single user OS, but in fact it is single user, single task, right? So they mention only about user, but they don't include that particular task, right? But single user, single task, I will explain. Then second one, multi-user OS, which means multi-user, multitask, right? Many users, many tasks. Third one, multitasking. So here they refer only task, but in fact it is single user, one user, multitask. Finally, real-time OS. Look here, when you focus on these names given in your book, sometimes it may be a little difficult to understand. But if you take my names, or if you take these names, it would be very easy to understand the reason for having this operating system, because the term itself has the meaning. Even I don't need to explain a single word. Look at them, single user, single task. Anyone who has a basic knowledge about computer and software can understand, right? So let's take one by one, but at the same time, you have to remember the names given in the book, right? So I'm not trying to, confuse you, but I'm correcting you because there may be some issued in this particular names. So you remember this name as well as the other one, right? Okay, let's take the first one. Single use OS. In fact, it is single user, single task. Look here, look at that particular term that tells the story. Single user, single task. So what does it mean? This operating system allows only one user at a time, right? Only one user can work at a time. And also he can or she can do only one task at a given time. Only one user can be there in the computer at a time, and she or he is able to perform only one task at a time. This is called single user OS. Have you understood? So look at the operating systems which we use now. Take your computers. Definitely your computer has operating system. There is no issue, right? Your computer, if you have a working computer, definitely there is an operating system inside, right? So now think about the practical scenario. In a computer, while listening to a music, right? While listening to a music, I can perform another task. Say I'm typing, right? I'm typing something in my computer. At the same time, I'm listening to the music. So how many tasks are carried out? Are being carried out? 2. So at a time, yes, I'm a single user. There is no problem at all. One user, it's correct, but that single user performs how many tasks? 2 tasks. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. So remember, the present computers or the present operating systems are not single user, single task or single use OS. Because if it is single user OS, single user can perform only one task at a time. So this operating system used maybe early 90s, right? Maybe early 90s, maybe latter part of 90s. So in that particular period, this kind of operating systems were used. So especially we have some operating systems under single user, single task. Around early 90s, maybe in fact the early 90s, there is one thing called Microsoft DOS, disk operating system. Look here, this is the one, MS-DOS. So MS-DOS allows one user to do one task at a time. So this is one example. Remember the example, these are important, right? These can be asked in first part, so remember them. Second one, all of them are from Microsoft Corporation. So this is Microsoft disk operating system. Then Microsoft Windows 95, right? So Microsoft released a Windows version called 95. That is also single user, single task. Then after some time, they released another version in the same name, Windows 98. That is also one of the single user, single task, right? So these are some of the examples for single user, single task. One user at a time can perform only one task, right? Right, the next one, multi-user, multitask. Multi-user, multitask. Look at the term multi-user, multitask. So here users are multi. At the same time, task also multi. So what can you understand from the title? It allows many people to perform many tasks at a time. I repeat it. Many people can work at a time. At the same time, they can do many tasks simultaneously, right? So, okay, doing or performing many tasks at a time is okay, right? You can do in your mobile phone, in a computer. How can a computer allows many people to do works at a time? Is it possible? can many people do tasks in a single computer? If it is a computer, you all know that there is one monitor, one keyboard, and everything is one, right? So how can it allows to have many people? How it's possible? It seems to be impossible, right? So single person is correct, but many people, even two people cannot be there, because you have only one monitor, so it seems to be impossible, right? But it is possible, because this kind of an operating system is mostly used in networking areas. So if it is a network, many computers are connected together, right? So many computers, maybe two, maybe three, maybe hundreds, right? Many computers are connected together. So in this case, you can assume that there are 50 computers connected together. So among these 50 computers, you can take a powerful computer, one of them, right? Powerful computer as a main computer, which we call server. In unit number 2, that is their server. Server is a powerful computer which can control the other computers. So since it is a powerful computer means it may have a speed processor, maybe high capacity random access memory, maybe hard disk capacity. So now you take that computer as a server. So in that particular server, you can install this multi-user, multitasking OS, right? In that particular computer only, you have to install this OS. Now what can happen? The other 49 computers can be connected to this server, right? So 50 computers, one is taken as a server. Remaining 49 computers are other computers, which we call client computers. In grade 10 first second unit, we have client computers. So now all these 49 client computers, all these 49 computers can access that main server. So that main server actually has this multi-user, multitasking OS. So now what can happen? All these 49 people, all these 49 computers can access that particular server, and they do many tasks at the same time. So how many operating systems installed in the server? Only one. That single operating system is being shared with 49 other computers. So many people, right? Many people simultaneously work in a single computer, and yes, they can do many tasks, right? So this may be an important thing that is possible. At the same time, this kind of an operating system is possible in mainframe computers. That is also in unit number 2. Mainframe computer is connected to multiple monitors and keyboards, which we call terminals. So if it is a mainframe computer, that is one computer that can be connected with to so many terminals. Terminals, the word terminals mean having monitors, keyboard, mouse, and that is one workstation. So in mainframe computer, this operating system can be installed, and hundreds of those terminals can access this operating system. Mostly in big banks and big financial companies, this kind of a mainframe computer is used. So it is impossible when it comes to personal computer. If you think about your personal computer, it is always impossible, because it allows only one user to work, right? This is only possible when it comes to computer network at the same time, a mainframe computer, because in a mainframe computer, one computer is connected with many, right? So understand this one. So we have some examples for multi-user OS. Windows Server is one of the operating system from Microsoft. Microsoft releases Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10 for personal computers. On the other hand, Microsoft releases Windows Server as an OS for networking operating system, right? So this is something which we call as networking OS. this something, sometimes it may be a little expensive than the others. Yes, it is a licensed software. It is slightly expensive. And Linux, right? Linux can be, initially Linux was developed for network purpose, right? Multi-user, multitask. This is Windows Server logo. This is Linux logo, right? So I have explained two operating systems now. First one is single user, single task, but in your book, it is mentioned as single user, doesn't matter, but you have to remember single task, right? One user, one task at a time. Example, MS-DOS, Windows 95, Windows 98. This is multi-user, multitask, but your book says that it is multi-user, but definitely multitask. What does it mean? At a time, many people can work and also they can perform many tasks, right? So how it's possible? It is possible only in networking at the same time, mainframe computers, right? So we have Linux, we have Windows Server. Understand everything clearly, right? Then you don't need to memorize anything, right? So once you are in a class, you listen to me carefully and understand everything, right? This has already been explained, right? Open source software, licensed software. So I clearly explained, so no need to take it again, right? Then the other one is called multitasking OS. So here they focus on tasks, but they don't put the user, right? They don't mention whether one user or many user, but take it as single user, right? Single user OS. Only one user can work single user OS. But many tasks. So how it's possible single user multitask? So this may be the common operating system which we all use, right? If you take your computer at home, yes, you are the only person who can work at a time. Maybe your family members can work, but at its given time, only one user can work. So one user can work at a time, but he or she can perform many tasks at a given time. So like I mentioned earlier, while listening to music, you can type something, right? So while browsing the websites, you can listen to music, or you can take some printouts. So because when we want to take so many printouts, hundreds of printouts, you have to be there for maybe hours or for maybe some minutes to take it. But when you are engaging in another work, better give the printout. So here you are doing a task at the same time you're printing also there. So two tasks. So remember this. This is the commonly used operating system. All of our personal computers use the single user multitask operating system. Here one user, but he or she can perform many tasks, right? So look here, we have some examples. It is too easy to remember because all the operating system which we use now in our computers can be multitasking. Even Android or maybe iOS, right? So, but here I have added only operating systems used in computer, but you may add the operating systems used in mobile devices too, right? So look here, Windows 8, this is one of the operating systems used nowadays, Windows 10, even Mac operating system, Macintosh, Ubuntu, all of them allow one user at a time to perform many tasks simultaneously, right? So this is multitasking OS. Right, finally, real-time OS. What does real-time mean? Real-time. So real-time means, look at the term, that term has meaning, right? I always, say that, right? So all the ICT words, most of the ICT words have the meaning, right? Even you don't expect someone to explain and elaborate the facts. As a student, you have the ability to guess it, right? Real time means that when an incident happens, right? That particular time when if there is an incident happens, at that time is called real time. if a disaster disaster happens, that particular time, that happening time must be real time. Have you understood that? A time in which that activity happens, right? So real time operating system. See, look here. I can first I try to explain directly. After that, better I take one example, then elaborate. So we can simply say that this operating system is for real-time applications. This may be enough, but as a student, you have to get a clear idea about this term. Then only I need some examples and other things. But for examination purpose, it's enough, right? Real-time operating system is used in real-time applications. But as a student, you have to understand the term real-time applications. So here, real-time application means, see, some of the applications expect or need an action immediately, right? Without a short delay, without a very fraction of a second delay, it needs the response. So they may be called real-time applications. For example, take a simple one. See, if it is tsunami, right? So assume that tsunami happens. Tsunami takes place. So if it is tsunami, there may be earthquake happens. So once that earthquake happens, at that particular time, you have to react. You have to inform to the public, and you have to take all the precautionary methods, so that even a fraction of a second delay leads to big, disasters. So that may be the term real-time application, right? So are the applications which need the immediate response, right? There cannot be any sort of delay for those applications, right? So they are real-time applications. So this operating system or these operating systems are used specially for such purposes, right? So in some instances, if you use our normal operating systems, there is always some sort of delay in processing. So in that case, you will have to face a lot of problems because they are real-time application. They need immediate processing, immediate response. So there may be a problem, right? So that's why we need this kind of an operating system. Look here, generally real-time operating systems are perfect, right? There is no mistakes, there is no errors. They work in a high accurate manner, right? That is always expected. At the same time, like I mentioned earlier, there is no delay at all. So these two things are satisfied by real-time OS. But if you take the other operating system like multi-user or single-user, single task, there may be a problem when it comes to that time, right? So they may take more time for responding. At the same time, you cannot expect high reliability or high accuracy in those operating systems. But here you cannot get any errors, any wrong informations in real time because you are working with a real time application. So if your outcome is wrong, there may be a huge disaster. So it is always correct, right? At the same time, look here, a constraint of meeting a deadline. What does it mean? It means it must be very quick. You cannot have a single or short delay, right? It is always very fast. Okay. So I have mentioned some of the example here. Look here, air traffic controlling system. So air traffic should be controlled because you have so many flights here and there. They are flying here and there all the time. So there is always a good coordination or good controlling system. There cannot be any delay. Your output cannot be wrong. So this is where real-time OS is applied, right? And also airbag controlling system in your vehicle. Airbag is there for the protection of the people. So when an accident happens, immediately that system works and the airbag, saves you. See, even a single delay is a huge problem. You know that, right? Airbag is all when that accident happens, the airbag starts working and it prevents you from being being accident, right? So it saves you. So it is very quick. At the same time, it must be perfect. It cannot be wrong, right? So that is one. Even you may say that there is that I talked about tsunami warning system. So if it is a tsunami warning system in a coastal area, there may be an operating system in the computer to take tsunami warnings. So when something happens under the sea, it immediately responds without a short delay. So that may be real-time OS. Okay, so it's too easy. Real-time operating systems are used for real-time applications. Real-time applications need a quick response from operating systems, right? So try to understand this one. So these are the 4 operating systems or types of operating system. First one, single user, single task, one user, one task. Remember example, MS-DOS, Windows 95, Windows 98. Then we talked about multi-user multitasking, right? Many users can work and also they can perform many tasks simultaneously. I mentioned about Linux and Windows Server. Then third one, we take single user multitask, one user, but he or she can perform many tasks at a time. Examples, all the examples, all the operating system which we use now, right? Windows 7, Windows 8, Mac OS, right? Ubuntu, anything. Finally, real-time OS. This is used for real-time applications, right? Right, so that's over, right? Types of operating systems is over. Then we come to another important heading, services of operating systems. Even it can be named as functions of operating systems, right? Both can be okay. Services of operating systems or functions of operating system. This may be one of the important titles in this unit number 4. As you can see, you have to understand many things here. See, this diagram seems to be lengthy, so which means we have to take some time and understand everything, right? So generally, look here, I will explain everything one by one. First, generally, operating systems do 2 kind of services, right? So they provide two services. The first one is hardware management. That can easily be understood because hardware management means controlling hardwares. You have input devices, you have output devices, so you have to control all of them. But there may be some different names there. I will explain everything later, right? Device management, memory management, file management, process management, and security management. Even though some of the words seem not too related to hardware, but wait, I will explain everything, right? So, but I'm showing this diagram only to get an idea, right? So that doesn't mean that you have to understand everything at this particular point, right? It will take some time to understand everything, right? On the other side, we have another service which is user interfaces, providing user interfaces. So operating systems provide us what we call interfaces, user interfaces. This term user interface seems to be new for most of you. I will explain that term from a very simple basic idea. So wait, I will explain that. So you have 2 types of interfaces, GUI, which is called graphical user interface. Graphical user interface. Then another interface is there called command line interface, right? Graphical user interface, command line interface, both of them are called interfaces. Okay. Forget about the first service, hardware management. I will not take that hardware management at this moment. I will take this interface service first, right? When we finish this then we will move and take the hardware management, because hardware management seems to me lengthy, so it takes some time. So better I start, since we don't have many time, so I start the interface today and try to understand this too, right? So this term interface is always related to software, right? So what is interface? So I can explain that with a very simple practical example. See, when you go to ATM in a bank, right? ATM, you know that ATM screen displays some information to you as a colorful screen, right? So when you go, sometime it welcomes you, right? Some messages are on the screen. It asks you to insert your card. When you insert your card, it shows some other messages. Now you are seeing some message which were not displayed earlier. Earlier you saw some other messages. Now you are seeing some other messages. So after sometime it asks you to enter the PIN, right? PIN. So once you enter PIN, again some other messages. So imagine if those informations displayed on the screen are not there, right? Assume your ATM is working, right? All the hardwares are working fine. But if there is no messages or no displays on the screen, how can you understand or how can you perform your task? Because there is nothing to guide you. But when those informations are displayed on the screen, you follow those instructions and you carry out your tasks. So those informations on the screen, or the colorful screen and letters, maybe the buttons and everything, that appearance is called interface. It's a very simple idea. Even I can say like this, see, that ATM is a machine. You are a user, right? ATM is a machine, you are a user. As a user, you want to communicate with that ATM, with that machine. To communicate with the machine, you need those windows or those screens or those colorful things. That is interface. So why do we need interface? So it is a component which connects the user and the machine. Imagine if that component is not found in that ATM, how can, as a user, how can we communicate with that machine? It's impossible, right? So that is the point. Interface is a component which joins or which connects two things. What are the two things? In one end, we are the users. In the other end, what is it? That machine. So we, as a user, as a users, able to communicate with the computer or with the machine with the help of interfaces. If that machine doesn't have interface, communication becomes impossible. Take a look at your mobile phone. Assume you want to do a task in a mobile phone, right? So to do any task in a mobile phone, there are screens. I can use the word screen. Actually, the term is wrong. I have to call it as interface, but in a spoken language, I use it. So at the first time, if you own the mobile phone, there is a colorful background and icons are there. That is interface. Imagine if that interface is not there in your mobile phone. Can you do a single task? Can you make a call? Can you take a photo? Right? Can you, go to the memory card and see a video, watch a video? Nothing possible, right? So definitely an interface is important for connecting a user and the machine. So all these machines actually need interfaces. So actually it is a middle point, right? It is a middle point, or it's a mid component which joins two things. That's why it is called interface. It is in between the user and the computer. Right? I hope you understood this one. This is interface, but I used to call that as a screen or something. But the screen may be okay when it comes to spoken. But remember, this is interface. because it is in between user and the machine, right? So users always communicate with the machine with the help of interfaces, right? So we have two types of interfaces. The first one is known as command line interface, CLI, command line interface. The second one is called graphical user interface, right? Graphical user interface. So let me explain, right? Graphical user interface, GUI, command line interface, CLI. So since we don't have much time, I try to explain the first one first, graphical user interface. Both are easy, but for command line interface, I need some sort of, practical things to explain. So first I take graphical. Look here, graphical user interface. This kind of an interfaces, or this kind of interfaces are everywhere nowadays. If you take a software now, it has graphical user interface. So what does it mean? It has, or this kind of an interface has graphical items. What does it mean, graphical items? So take a look at your mobile phone. In your mobile phone, you have some the word graphic is always related to pictures and some other things related to diagrams or pictures or videos. That is graphic. So in your mobile phone, on your mobile phone screen, there are short or small pictures which we call icons. So that is related to graphic. So when you have icons on the screen, everyone can easily communicate. Because to make a call, we just tap that particular icon, immediately it asks the phone number, we dial it, and we make a call. So see, handling that mobile is too easy because it has that graphic content, graphic which we call icon. So your present mobile has a graphical user interface. That, yes, that is an interface, but since it has graphical items, that is called graphical user interface. Now take my example in ATM. So look at those interfaces which we meet in ATM. So there may be many interfaces in a software, but all of them are interfaces. All of them, the interfaces that you see on the screen in ATM are graphic, because there, look at them, there are buttons there, some colorful background pictures there, right? So even some icons there, you can directly touch on the ATM screen. So yes, of course it is GUI because it has graphical contents. Generally, a graphical user operating system has 4 basic features or 4 basic components. The first one is, I just mentioned one name, icon, right? Icon means a small picture or small component. When we click or when we tap, it starts working, right? At the same time, there may be another 3, but we like to call, we like to form a word to memorize. The first one is called Windows, right? Windows, I will explain, wait, I will explain. The second one is called icon, which was mentioned. Menus, right? There is another one, menus. There is another one, pointer. So when a graphical user interface has windows, icons, menus, pointers, it is too easy for a user to work. These 4 things make us to work in that particular operating system with comfort, right? There is no inconvenience. It is very easy to work. Let me explain. See, Windows. So windows are always there. See, look at this. This is a window. Even this is a window, right? I open that. Generally, Windows have close button, minimize button. This is a window. So when we have Windows, it's too easy to work, right? So what is it? It is an interface, right? The one that you are watching on your screen, on your mobile screen, or on your smartphone screen. It's a window. Because of the window, see, if I want to go to the hard disk, I can easily go that. How it's possible? It is possible because of this window. So this is called window. Then icons. I clearly explain about icons. Even these icons, look at them. If I want to go to the Zoom, I just click on this, then I can enter. So this is icon. Yes, your mobile phone also has, right? Then menus. So menus means whenever you right click on your computer, there are some options available. Actually, these options are shortcut. Actually, the correct method for taking these things are different. But see, simple example, if I want to change some settings in my computer, I can directly go to the screen resolution and do the settings related to screen. It is because of this menu. This, whenever you right click, something appeared, that is called menu. If this is not there, you cannot do. See, in a mobile phone, when you want to copy something, copy paste, you just tap that particular text for some time, right? Then it says copy, paste, select all, something. That is menu. Have you understood? In your mobile phone, this is how the menu appeared. You have to tap for a while and then something appeared, copy, paste, select all. That is menu. So that makes our work easy, right? So this is menu. And finally, icon. As you can see, this pointer is icon. See, I'm pointing the things. It is because of the pointer. So when we have these four, this interface becomes so familiar. So none of us face problems in dealing with the phone. No one has problems in using computer. Even a small kid can use. How it's possible? Because that interface has user-friendly components. They are windows, icons, menus, pointers, right? So which we call as WIMP, because sometimes we may forget the four things. That's why we form a word, WIMP. So remembering WIMP is easy, right? So when you remember WIMP, then you can guess the words for W and then I and M and P, right? So remember, almost all the softwares which we use now have graphical user interfaces because they are too friendly. Right, so on the other side, we have CLI2, but since the time is almost up, just I want to wind up today. See, even in the previous classes, I told you to ask questions, so none of you asked. So it is better if you have questions, please send me through Viber or whatever possible way. I try to take, if the questions are, considerable. So if they are considerable, I will spend some time in the upcoming class and explain them, right? After that, I can continue the next lesson, right? So it's enough for today. So I conclude today's lesson and we will meet in another class, right? Thank you for watching.